In this video, we're going to see how we can import projects from other software, and you can import architecture, you can import industrial design, and you can import simple 3D projects from many different software. We're going to make a few examples in this video. We're going to make more also in the following lessons, but we're going to concentrate here on CAD software like Sketchup, on a BIM application like Revit, and then also we're gonna try to import 3ds Max file, so from a 3D software. These three are really popular, but you can find similar formats coming from other software like Cinema 4D, Blender, or Maya, and so on. So we're gonna also continue to introduce the software, but we're gonna go more specific in the next videos. So we're gonna go here into File, and this is where you can start, for example, a new scene. Now this one here is with these standard tree, and unfortunately we don't have more sample scenes to use, so we're gonna just start to import new assets. I'm gonna go here to new scene, and this is gonna clean everything up. Now if you go on the right side, you can see the lights, the materials, and the objects. Now everything is empty, but especially the scene is totally empty. This is where we can find all the objects that we're gonna import during the other videos. So we're gonna start to import. Let's start with a simple file. So I'm gonna go to import, and I'm gonna find a file from 3ds Max. Now you can go here to see the different formats you can import. You can see you have VR Scene, VR Mesh, which are from V-Ray, because VANTAGE is from Chaos, which is the same producer of V-Ray. So anything you create in V-Ray, like for example V-Ray for 3DStudio Max, or V-Ray for Cinema 4D, V-Ray for Rhino, V-Ray for SketchUp, and so on, then you can import those scenes directly. If you're interested in how to do this, you can see our video courses dedicated to V-Ray, and also how to export V-Ray scenes and V-Ray Mesh. Now there is also another tool called V-Ray Vision inside some of the software like for SketchUp. So you may want to have a look at that. And if you have questions, if you have doubts, you can always write in the comments. You can ask for assistance. You can also give suggestions to other users. So if anything is not clear, you can just write and ask. So we're gonna skip V-Ray Scene and VR Mesh for the moment, which are basically V-Ray scenes and V-Ray objects, proxy objects. We're gonna go with these other formats. Now I'm not gonna show you each single format, but the most popular, which are gonna be the Obj file, and you can export, for example, from Cinema 4D, Maya, Blender, you can export OBJ. And then you have FBX. This is an Autodesk format. It's really popular, and it works beautifully also like in a real engine or Unity. And also you have DAE, which also is similar to FBX. And then you have 3ds directly from 3DStudio Max. So when you export from 3ds Max, you can use 3ds. It's a complete export of a 3DStudio Max file. Now it's not the native 3DStudio Max file, which is .max, but this is still native from 3DStudio. So this is just the only one which is native among these others. These others are really diffuse and popular and versatile, compatible with different software. And then we have also GLTF, which is an open source. You can use it with Blender. You can find, for example, a lot of objects and scenes and projects in Sketchfab with this format right here, GLTF. So we're gonna also talk later about, again, importing also with these other formats. Now I'm gonna go for 3ds Max, and I have here an export folder where I've saved a scene from the 3DStudio Max video course. So I'm gonna just use this one here just to show you how a project from 3DStudio Max is gonna look like. And I'm using FBX, but again, you can use 3ds Max file, 3ds, or OBJ. You have many options to export from 3DStudio Max. And this is the project here. This is an architecture project. Now I'm starting to move around, and to move around you can use here different tools. You can use the scroll wheel to go back and forward. you can press the scroll wheel if you want to do a pan. Now, if you click with the left mouse, you're gonna select. If you click with the right mouse, also nothing's gonna happen. But if you click and hold the right mouse, you're gonna orbit. And then you can move around using the WASD keys, but you need to keep the right mouse pressed so you can move around and use ASWD to move around like a video game. You can use the Q to go low and the E to go up. And also if you hold the shift key, you're gonna move faster. Now you can see that some of the materials from 3D Studio Max have been recognized. Some others don't. So, well, that's good news because we know that we can use materials from 3D Studio Max. Now, I believe that these other that haven't been recognized are from Arnold's renderer. So it's another render engine. This is probably why this is not fully recognized, but it's really easy to change materials, change the lights here in VANTAGE. So we're gonna see that later. Now the good news here is that import is really fast and it's gonna work really good. So this is a great beginning, and you can see this is a customized material with a customized unwrap texture on this chair, and it also worked beautifully. So we can definitely import from 3D Studio Max, but we can do the same thing with other software. We're gonna see it. So you can use VANTAGE with basically any type of format. Okay, now we can see here materials. So you can see that I have many materials that have been imported. All these gray materials mean that they don't work here in VANTAGE. Also, this populate data, people walking and sitting, things like that, they have been not recognized. But we don't worry about that because we have libraries in Chaos VANTAGE which are full of people, vehicles, and other assets and props that we can use. So this is going to be fine for now, and don't worry, later we're going to see more stuff coming from VANTAGE. This is just to show you a little bit of the navigation. Now, one thing I don't really like is when I hold Control and press the scroll wheel, it's gonna like rotate the view. So be careful not to press Control and click on the scroll wheel, so you're gonna do this strange rotation. But if you hold the Alt key and the scroll wheel, you're gonna orbit around. This is also really useful if you want to move around your scene. So Alt and click on the middle mouse button, so your scroll wheel, to do orbit. So basically anything passed through the middle button of the mouse or the scroll wheel. Okay, now let's move on and let's go to the next example. I'm gonna save this scene as a lesson 01 architecture 3ds. That's gonna be fine. So you can see here, you can definitely use VANTAGE instead of like Arnold render, which is in 3ds Max. So you can save scene, you can save scene as when you want to save. You can also save the image. So I'm gonna save this again. You see this, I've saved this as test lesson 1. Let's call test 02 lesson 1. And you can save two ways. One is with the background and one is without the background. I'm gonna show you this with another file. So I'm gonna save this and open up another one. So I can either create a new scene, I can open another scene that I already saved, or I can import other things or reload also the scene from the software that is coming from. Now in this case, I just want to open the scene directly because I already saved another scene. So I'm gonna go into VANTAGE folder, and I've created this one using Revit, a BIM file from Revit. Now the importing process is exactly the same. Okay, this is telling me that this file that I'm trying to load is not associated with any supported file, so I need to open up a new scene. And yes, I'm gonna open up a new scene, and there it is. This is a file in Revit which is like a bigger building with the interiors and the exterior. It has an entire landscape here, an entire terrain that you can see. So it's a pretty big scene. So if you don't want the background, you need to make sure that your background is empty, so you cannot have that hill. Otherwise, it's not gonna have a transparent background. But if I move in this other side, there you go. This is gonna be like a transparent background right there. Now you see you can import Revit just as you import a 3D file, and if you go in the objects panel, you will find all the families here that have been imported, all the different elements of the scene. So if I select also here in the scene with the selection tool, you can see, example, this one here. It's gonna be the roof. So let me see here. Okay, this is the roof right here. So you can manage your entire scene using VANTAGE, something that other software don't have. So this is a really handy feature in VANTAGE. You can access and manage all the different parts of your scene. So if you need to import from Revit, well, you have two options to export from Revit. You have the file CAD and the 2D drawings, and the 3D file is going to be in FBX. So I'm just going to show you here real quick. So if I go to import and go to Revit, and by the way, you can check the video course in Revit and SketchUp and 3ds Max and among many others in the channel. So search in the channel if you're looking for a specific software. So I'm going to find here my Revit folder from the course, and there it is. So here I've made some exporting. So if you need to export 2D drawings, technical drawings from Revit, you should export with DWG or DXF. When you need to export 3D, you need to export with FBX. So FBX is gonna be the best one here in VANTAGE when you want to import BIM, also from ArchiCAD or other BIM application. And there it is, everything is here. Now, if I want to save the image without the background, well, there are many preferences in the software. So if you go to File and go to the Advanced settings, you will find already some settings for the rendering. And by the way, this is a real-time ray tracing rendering. So it's a little bit different from, let's say, Enscape, which is from Chaos Group. I'm going to show you also quickly Enscape, but you will find a video course in Enscape. Now this is better. It's ray tracing is more realistic, but also heavier. So you need a strong GPU to use VANTAGE, but you don't need a strong GPU to use Enscape. So this is a good software for strong GPUs. And you have some settings here already set up, but we're gonna see those perhaps later. Just gonna show you here in the preferences. This is also many different operations that you can change. For example, you can drag and drop the scenes, and you can merge, or you can open, or you can always ask what you want to do with dropped scene. So if you just drag and drop, it's going to open up a scene as well. And here is where you can save the alpha channel, which is going to save an opacity, a cutout channel when you save PNG. So if I close this and save this image, it's gonna look like this. So it's not gonna have the background, so that you can do photo montages in Photoshop or GIMP or Pixar or other software. Now I'm just gonna open up a project in SketchUp just to show you here how it's gonna work also with Enscape. Now Enscape and VANTAGE are from Chaos Group, so they are pretty similar in terms of like views and how to navigate. You can see here, well, they are similar in many different ways, but Enscape is basically simpler. So it's quicker and less accurate real-time render engine. So it's less accurate than a ray tracing engine, but you can open it up with any GPU instead of VANTAGE. You need an advanced GPU for that. Now everything is too bright here, so I'm just gonna change the position of the sun. There you go. So we can see here the project in SketchUp. So SketchUp, you can use SketchUp for 2D drawings, technical drawings. You can use it for 3D, And again, check the video course in the channel. So if I click here my middle mouse and start to orbit around, I can see the 3D project right here, and also I can see it here if I move into the VANTAGE window, and I can move exactly as I move in in Enscape. I can move just like in VANTAGE. So I can move with WASD keys, and then I can, in this case, I will hold the left mouse instead of the right mouse, but I can use also the right mouse to orbit around, the left mouse to change the direction of my view. Now, also another really interesting feature of Enscape is that you can switch from like a drone mode into a walk mode, so you can walk around. And this is going to be like an interior. So I show you a little bit of exterior outdoor setting for your architecture, and this is an interior just to change a little bit. So you can see I can move around, and this is going to have a pretty good quality, I think, but with VANTAGE we can get more ray tracing quality than this. And you know, it's going to be sometimes not so visible, but there is a difference. Now in SketchUp also we can use the 3D warehouse when we can find a lot of assets that we can just bring in our project and create really complex projects, really complex scenes with a lot of geometry, a lot of furniture, furnishing for interiors, exterior, and so on. So you have this 3D warehouse. It's really big, and you can import entire architectural projects if you want, or like windows and many other props and assets. So it's a really useful resource. But we do have something also using Enscape. We have libraries in Enscape, but we also have libraries in VANTAGE. So again, this is just to show you the difference more or less between VANTAGE and Enscape. And this is going to be interactive. So if I delete this kitchen here from the project, it's going to delete it also in Enscape. Now, if you want to do the same thing with VANTAGE, you need to have V-Ray for SketchUp installed in order to create a dynamic link or direct link between the two. So if you don't have V-Ray installed, you cannot do this thing right here. So I'm gonna close now the Enscape project, and to bring in the same scene here in VANTAGE, well, I need to import basically. But again, if I have installed V-Ray in SketchUp or 3ds Max or another software, I can use Live Link to link them together so that I can do something similar to what you saw just a second ago in Enscape. And so you can work simultaneously in SketchUp and VANTAGE, and in other software, 3D software or Bim software and VANTAGE. Now, since I don't have V-Ray installed at the moment, I'm just gonna export. So I'm gonna go to File, Export, 3D Model, and again, this is gonna be like really similar to every other software out there. So search for FBX first of all. This is gonna be, in my opinion, the best one, the more accurate. Otherwise, you can go for OBJ. Is gonna be my second choice. DAE, I think it's working fine most of the time, so this is gonna be like my third choice. So you can see you have many options. You even have 3ds, which is compatible with VANTAGE. Then you have IFC for Bim application, and again GLTF. This is also working great, and this is open source, GLTF, GLB. So you know, you can choose any one of these. So I'm just gonna go to import this time an OBJ just to make things a little bit different from before. So first one was FBX, and then from Revit and from 3DStudio Max. And let's see here the properties. This is gonna be OBJ. So I'm gonna open it up, and I can import cameras, lights, geometry, and so whatever it's possible to import. There you go. And this is also quick import. You saw that. It's quicker than using Enscape. So these are all the models. We can just turn on and off. So again, we have the entire scene. You can see we imported also some materials. Some of those are standard, but I think that every material used in SketchUp you can import it without any problem here in VANTAGE. So let's make this bigger and let's navigate here the scene a little bit. Also here you can scroll the scroll wheel to go faster to a point where you want to go, and then hold shift, and you can see here I'm moving just in a similar fashion. And well, this is a really simple scene, but you can tell the difference of the lighting, the shadows, the accuracy just already using this really simple scene. So VANTAGE is simply more accurate, the shadows, the ambient occlusion, the details, the lighting, and this is just the beginning. So we will see later on more complex scenes with complex lighting and realistic materials and realistic lighting systems. So it's gonna be definitely better than Enscape. But if you're interested in Enscape, if you're interested in SketchUp, if you're interested in any software, just search it in the channel. If you don't find it, write us, make your questions, ask for assistance, and we will try to help you. We will try to guide you. Also, you can write suggestions for other users. Now, for this lesson, it's going to be all. And if you enjoyed, please subscribe to stay updated. And if you want to support us, you can join the channel as a supporter. Thanks for watching and see you in the next lesson.